Got The Uses of Enchantment by Bruno Bettelheim. Freudian analysis of fairy tales. I think anyone who likes kind of delving in deeper about the psychology in stories, I think this is definitely worth a read. There's an emphasis on archaeology in this, which I find quite interesting. Next up, we've got probably the hardest book I've had to read. No jokes. Like, I gave the introduction and part 1 a read, and my god, like, it is pretty mind-blowing, some of this stuff. Not mind-blowing, I'd say it's very, very thought-provoking. Really dealing with very important abstract concepts. By the way, this is Plato of the Republic. There's a really interesting debate in this between Socrates and Thrasymachus, something like that. And they are arguing whether it's more advantageous or whether it is better to be just or unjust. For me, I wouldn't say Thrasymachus wins. I think Socrates counters him really well, but then I was also expecting more from Socrates as well, because I definitely see the advantages to being just, but he didn't sell me, not in part 1 anyway, he hasn't yet sold me on whether it is actually more advantageous to be just or not, because that's where he will argue. I think by the end of it he will argue that, but I've just got other stuff to do right now. I'll come back to you, Plato, I promise. Imperial culture in Germany, 1871 to 1918. Got a sense of where Germany was at before the period I'm looking at. Rapidly industrializing, a lot of people going from rural to urban areas. Period of great change for Germany. Germany is a country that championed itself militarily, imperially, I suppose. You could definitely criticize what they did, but they did. It was a time in which imperialism was common, and they did very, very strongly in that period, in that field. They really emphasized hero culture. From what I got from this book, statues of Bismarck, imperial worship. 1 hour podcast. Introduction to Rousseau. Rousseau is my guy, bro. This guy was mad. He was like, mate, this guy like, where do I begin with Rousseau? He has this quote. He has this really interesting quote. My heart is effeminate and yet invincible. Something like that. It's like, whoa, dude, you're pretty cool. So Rousseau basically has this idea of the noble savage. Before all this structure, before we developed the world, before development, basically, man was living in a more primitive age, but also a more noble age. He believed we were better off in that age than the modern age. I was really drawn to Rousseau as I was reading about him, and he's got a couple of really heavy-hitting books as well. So maybe at some point in the future I'll look into that. Immanuel Kant, the other philosopher I've been reading about. So this guy, he's like the most meta guy I've ever read about. He's really concerned with definitions. Like, he's like walking for a landmine all the time, and he doesn't want to get one word misinterpreted or wrongly defined, because then that will destroy his all internal logic system. Like, this guy's mad. He's got some books. I don't know if I'll ever read them. Like, they just sound like so heavy and so dense. I just don't know if it's worth it. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to do a video on that, or a video on the stuff I've already done in more depth. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like and subscribe. I've got plenty more good stuff always coming out soon and in the near future. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you got any comments, leave them in the section below. It'd be really good to hear from you. Take care, guys. Thanks.